Alright, this is GP from the Maui Surf Report blog, sharing his experience with the latest wipeout and related injury that I just encountered 2 days ago. I thought that, I just went for some x-ray and the doctor was a surfer. She listened to this story that I'm about to say, so interested, though I thought it might be interesting for me to share with you guys also. But fortunately, it's not a particularly common situation. It's actually a very peculiar case, but it might be interesting no matter what. So, it was a double-up wave. Now, let's try to first define what a double-up wave is. I looked for an official definition on the internet, but there's any. It's just a surfer-made term. Not only surfers, by the way. I believe the term is often used in the lineups, just to indicate a wave that would grow more than the other waves. Whenever you see a wave that you see that it's building on the reef more than what the other waves in average have done so far, you hear it calling, here comes a double up. And that's totally fine. I probably called it like that myself quite a few times. But this one was a real double up, because it was made by two completely separate waves. They were traveling in front of each other, the back one catching up with the front one at a slightly higher speed. And I was the one sitting the most on the inside of the lineup. There were like 7, 8 guys 15 yards outside of me. I chose to sit there just because I just had a wave, and so rule number 1 of the surfing etiquette still says that you should wait for everybody else in the lineup to catch a wave before you even think about going for a wave, unless you're sitting in places that nobody else can catch it. And so I said, 7 guys, this is going to be a while. Let me see if I can catch some small ones on the inside that those guys won't go for. And that's exactly what happened, but it wasn't a small one, it was a double up. So when I first saw it, it really looked like a bad wave, and that's why none of the guys sitting more outside went for it. What's a bad wave? A bad wave would be a wave with a big bump in front. I tell my students all the times, if the wave has a bump in front, don't even bother looking at it, just don't go for it, because it's not going to be good. It's not going to be steep enough, it might be soft, might not even break. You want to have something that has absolutely nothing in front of you. But that's still true. The difference is that what was in front of the wave on the back wasn't a bump, it was another same size wave that was traveling in front of it. They both were nothing big, they both were waist high. But when I first saw it, I said, oh look, that looks interesting. But I wasn't interested, nobody was interested. Then I saw that the two waves were traveling at a different speed. That's going to be tricky for the brain, but you guys got it. And the one in the back was quickly catching up with the one in the front. And maybe my experience of surfing Paia Bay, which is not a huge experience, but I do surf it once in a while. It does happen there quite often, actually, but it's never so precise. It's all bumpy anyway. Those are like a double-up bump or something. In that day, in that spot, it was two perfect waves doubling up on each other, on each other. When I recognized that that was going to happen, I turned around and I went for it. Couldn't catch the one on the bottom, it was too soft, but I did catch the one on the top. But I couldn't stand up right there. I still had to paddle through the flatter section between the two to make sure I could then drop in the wave in front. But that's when I did mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 was probably generated by the fact that the brain is used to see a certain scenario in front of you in terms of steepness of the wave before it decides, okay, I caught it and it's steep enough, it's a good idea for me to push up and get on my feet. So I believe because of that, I kept paddling until I gave at least one stroke into the face of the lower wave before I got on my feet. In hindsight, I figured that that was a little late. I should have popped up on my feet with the timing that would allow me to stand on my feet pretty much right on top of the lower waist high one, so that then I could do the real drop, because I had enough momentum from the first wave, from catching the first wave to do that, and so that I could do the real drop already on my feet and engaging the inside rail so that I would go left right away. There was a left, I'm goofy, so I was front side. But I didn't, and so I got up a little too late. I still stuck the drop, and I did mistake number 2 then. But again, those are pretty, if I think about it, that's what I would do normally on a waist high wave. I tell my students also, many times, when you're paddling for the wave, you're already looking down the line, and when you're pushing on the board and popping up, you're still looking down the line. Don't look in front of you, especially if it's a wave that requires that you go down the line right away. You do the whole push-up and pop-up process. Sorry, I'm not standing up, but it hurts. But imagine now I am, and I'm going left, already looking down the line. That, of course, has an exception. And the exception is when it's a big and steep drop. You can Google this on your own. You can see how the pro surfers, or any good surfer, if it's a big steep drop, yeah, they look down the line where they're paddling to see what the wave is doing, but when it's time to pop up, they do the push shot that they're looking in front of them. They get on their feet, they hurt. They make sure they get the drop, or at least they set the drop down, and then they look down the line. So I had no idea that wave was going to get that steep and that big. I mean, I kind of was expecting it, but not that much. So once I got on my feet, I was already looking down the line. I never really looked, made sure. I thought I had the drop. I thought that thing was waist high. I don't need to look in front of me to make sure I know how to drop on a waist high wave. But by the time I got on my feet and I'm looking down the line, the thing is well head high, probably overhead, and steep as hell. Mostly going to close out on me, but I didn't manage to see the closeout, meaning it would have been nice if at that point I would give up completely the idea of going down the line and just straighten out towards the beach. But what happened is that because I wasn't checking, in front of me, the nose, it was just so steep, it sucked up so much water that the nose got caught, and I think this rail got engaged in the water, so that, you know, I'm standing like this, I'm going to be, the board stops, and I will be flying on my back like this towards the shallow waters in front of a head-high wave, which caused me the injury, because so I didn't hit the reef right away. I try to stay as flat as possible, which is always a good thing to do, even on your back. And I traveled underwater for a while, to the point that I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to get lucky here, but I knew it was shallow. But then when the head-high white water of that thing just arrived, it compressed me, and I started feeling the reef on the lower back. I actually also felt like something was crunching, and I couldn't tell if it was the reef or inside my body. But it seems like it was the reef, thank God. Anyway, to recap, 2 mistakes. The first mistake, if you have a situation like this, in which you do expect a wave to double up, if you manage exactly the same situation to catch the top one and be still needing to paddle in the flat section between the two, don't wait until you get in front of the lower one. Get on your feet before and try to stick the drop, because if I had done that, maybe, you know, that was classic Clay Marzo wave. He would have got on his feet, then the drop, and probably, I'm going to say, made the most remarkable barrel at that spot that was never ridden. I'm saying, because that thing was really, really way down there, and I wasn't expecting it to do that. It really doubled down. And mistake number 2 is, if you realize, oh, this is steeper than I thought, maybe keep your eye in front of you, you want to make sure you stick the drop. And then eventually look down the line, take the close out behind you, because at that point you can always either jump back or do a half bottom turn and jump face first into the white water, which is deeper than the water in front of you. So those are the two teachings that I think I got out of that situation. Honestly, if you ask me, would you go again for a wave like that? The answer would be yes, of course. There was a wave that any surfer that would identify the situation would have to go, because it was just irresistible. It was a divine call, and the one thing I'm happy is that I did go, and I would go again, but this time I would do the things slightly differently. Oh, one other thing I'd like to mention. So this is the wetsuit I was wearing that day. Okay, you probably see, yeah, the spot where I hit the reef. A little bit more this side, and that would be the spine. Here, it would be my lower ribs. Here, it would be my kidney. I got so lucky. So, two messages here. Wetsuits are great. I have to show you the little scratch. Almost nothing I got out of that. It's a little swollen, but so that's the wetsuit protect you a lot, and the attitude towards injuries in general, but especially surfing. Injuries are part of surfing. When they happen, it's because they were meant to happen, and no matter how bad they are, did I say it already? No, I don't think so. No matter how bad they are, they could have been worse. So be thankful that they are only what they are, unless you die. But if you die, you don't need to be thankful or worried or anything. You're dead anyway. So that's what I meant to say. I'm going to be fine with however long this will take, and I'm pretty happy to be here. And you know, I can get up and stop the video, which of course turned out way too long. Thank you guys for listening. MauiSurfReport.blogspot.com. The lady over there is called